Hey, welcome. Today I thought because it's been so incredibly hot that it would be fun to make cookies and cream ice cream. And I'm going to make mine look like a Blizzard from Dairy Queen. So I went to Dairy Queen and I just asked them if I could buy some empty cups. So I'm going to use this as my container. And then to prepare the container, I'm going to use this toilet paper roll. And this is, I think, the medium size, and this is like the exact perfect height. If you're using a taller cup, you could use a paper towel roll, or if you're using a shorter one, you may need to cut this down a bit. And then I have a small piece of Posterboard here that I'm just going to trace my cup onto. So I'm going to trace the top of the cup. And then I'm going to need this to be smaller so that it fits inside of the cup. So what I'm going to do is cut inside the circle a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put some hot glue right on the edge of my toilet paper roll. And then I'm just going to stick it down into the center of my cup. And then I'm going to glue my piece of Posterboard right onto the top of the toilet paper roll. And as you can see, mine's not perfectly flat. That's okay. We're going to be putting the ice cream on top. You won't see this at all, but it's just to hold the ice cream so you don't have to fill the whole entire cup up with your product. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside for a minute, and we're going to work on some of the other components. We'll start making the Oreo cookies to go in there. So I've made Oreo cookies and I showed how to make this mold in another video, so I'm not going to show how to make the mold. You can also buy Oreo molds on Etsy, but I wanted to show you because I'm going to make these Oreo cookies a little bit different for this project than I did in my other video. So I wanted to just quickly show you how to do it this way. So I'm going to dust my cookie mold with cornstarch. So I just put some on my toothbrush and then I go across the mold with it and then just tap out the extra. And then I'm going to use my foam clay. I'm using this Bose one, and then just condition your clay. So I'm going to need to make 2 of these, and then I'm also going to have to make the filling to go inside. So I'm just going to take a small piece of what I had there and make my cookie piece. And then I'm just going to bend back my mold a little bit and just pop it out. And then I'm going to make a second one, so I need to dust my cookie mold again. Now, if you're making something like this to sell, you would not want to use Dairy Queen or Blizzard or Oreo in your description at all, or the title, anything like that, because these brands will crack down on you for using their trademarked name. So, you know, go with cookies and cream, ice cream, you know, those general terms. Don't use the copyrighted terms if you're selling items like this. And then to make the filling, I'm just going to take another small piece and roll it in a ball. And then I'm just going to press it out into a circle. And I want to make sure that it fits my Oreo. So Just kind of check it against your Oreo piece. So I have all 3 pieces here. So if you can, I would let these dry overnight because it's a lot easier to paint without messing up all the details on the Oreo. So I have a few that I let dry already. The color that I use for my Oreos is burnt umber, and then I add just a touch of black. And this gives the perfect Oreo color. So just leave the filling piece white, and then we're gonna paint the front and back side of the Oreo pieces. Okay, so let your Oreos dry for a few minutes and we'll work on the crumbles. So to make this, I'm gonna use this bath soak that I got from Dollar Tree. You could also use Epsom salt. It's basically the same thing. This is scented, so if you don't want it to smell like anything, get the regular Epsom salt. So I'm gonna take a little of this bath salt and I'm gonna put it in a baggie. And then I'm going to take a hammer and I'm just going to break it up a little bit because we want kind of like some smaller pieces, and these are kind of larger pieces. So you want some of them to still stay larger, but you want some small crumbly pieces in there as well. So I'm going to do that off camera so you don't have to listen to me hammering. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. So you can see it's broken down a little bit smaller, and then there's some really small pieces in there as well. So I'm just going to dump this out onto my wax paper. And then I'm going to add some of that same paint mixture, the burnt umber with just a dot of black. And then I'm just going to use a popsicle stick and just mix this all around so that the salt gets coated in the paint. So I need to add some more paint to this. That was not enough paint. You want this to be really nice and coated because you don't want it to have that see-through appearance of the salt. So you want it to look like cookie crumbles. So make sure it's really coated well. But you also don't want your paint like pooled up. Like you don't want to have way too much paint because these need to dry and look like crumbles. And if it's in a pool, it's just going to be all stuck together. Okay, so that looks how it should look, nice and coated. So what I'm going to do is kind of spread this out, and I don't care if some of these pieces are stuck together because that's how the real stuff looks, you know. So I want some of them to be like individual pieces and some of them to be more stuck together in like a little clump. So then I'm just going to set this aside and let it dry. You might have to let this dry for like, I don't know, maybe an hour or something, just to make sure that the paint gets all dry so it doesn't seep into your ice cream. Okay, so now we're gonna work on our Oreos. So in my other video, I hot glued the Oreo together, but because we're gonna be cutting this into pieces, I want to use a different kind of glue that's not gonna show where it's cut, you know? So I'm going to use my Mod Podge. So I'm just going to glue each piece together with the Mod Podge. Now, if you've let your clay dry, you may have to hold this together, or you might want to sit something on it just to hold it all together and make sure everything gets nice and flattened out. Okay, so we need to cut this into pieces. So I'm going to cut this into pieces with an X-Acto knife. And when you cut into it, it's going to be white on the inside. We're still going to have to paint that, but so don't be worried. So see there, I have one piece and you can see the layers. So we'll be painting those layers up. Cut them in all different shapes and sizes. Okay, so I have all my little pieces here. So I'm going to take a tiny little paintbrush and my Oreo mixture, and I'm just going to paint the cookie layers on the inside where I cut. This way we can position these cookies however we want, and we don't have to worry about hiding any side or anything like that. Okay, so while our Oreo pieces dry, we can go ahead and get our ice cream ready. So for the ice cream, I'm using DAP Fast and Final Lightweight Spackling. This particular container is really nice and white, so I won't need to add anything to it. If you have a spackle that is gray colored, just add a little white paint to it and that'll get it to the color you need for your ice cream. So because mine's all good, I'm just gonna use right from the container and put it into my cup. So I want it to mound up just a little bit, but not too much. That's just, I want this to look realistic, and the way that these really look is not too mounded up, but enough that you can see it over the top of the cup. Okay, so now that I have it in there, I'm gonna take a popsicle stick and I'm just gonna move it around and get it positioned how I want it. It's not gonna need too much. I think it's pretty well how I want it to be, but yours may need some maneuvering. Okay, so now I'm just gonna start putting my Oreo pieces in however I want them. So remember, you know, put some so that the outside edge is showing, put some so that these inner pieces are showing, just so that it looks real. See this one, I have kind of like this piece hanging off, but I thought that makes it look realistic, you know, like crumbly. Okay, so now we need to put on our crumbles. So I have some here that I made ahead of time and let them dry up. So I'm gonna go ahead and use these. So you can see what they look like here. So see how like some of them are clumped up like that, and then some are just smaller pieces. So I'm just gonna sprinkle these on randomly. And now the last thing we need is the little spoon. And I forgot to ask them if I could buy some spoons. So I just decided to make my own red spoon. So I just used a plastic spoon that was white, and I broke the spoon part off of it, which you wouldn't have to do if you put it in beforehand, but I just wanted to be able to stick it right in. So, and then I just painted it with a gloss red paint, just acrylic paint. So I'm just gonna stick this right in on the side like that. If you guys want to take your fake baking to the next level with me, I have started a VIP fake baking membership, and the link for that will be in the description. If you want to join that, check out the description. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.